Next guest has got another big fight. This time he's going to be taking on Shavkat Rakhmonov at UFC Fight Night, June 25th. It's Neil Magny back here on the program. Neil, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing awesome. We were just talking off air. I know you had another baby. Congrats on that, by the way. How has the mentality changed at all? You know, when you become a dad again, like what's sort of the mentality right now?
I mean, it's kind of more of the same with the first one. I mean, once you realize you're no longer fighting for yourself, you're fighting to provide for somebody else. It definitely changes the way you approach a lot of things that you do. At this point in my life, I don't have time for excuses. The only option I have is to get it done. So having a second person to provide for now, this kind of adds more fuel to that fire.
Absolutely, man. And I know last time we spoke, you'd wanted a higher ranked opponent. You settled on, well, I shouldn't say settled. You got to fight. You got to make a living. You got to get those bills paid. I get it. But credit to you, man. Like a lot of people do not want to fight Shavkat. You volunteered. Tell me how this all came together.
Literally just came through an email and it was just saying yes. Like, I didn't even know how to pronounce the guy's name when I said yes at the time. It's just where I'm at in the sport right now. I mean, I'm definitely one of those guys who critiques how some other fighters choose to handle themselves as far as how they go about choosing matchups and their willingness to fight and that kind of thing. So when the offer came for me to fight Shavkat, I didn't want to be a hypocrite, so to speak, and be one of those guys like, wait, hold on. I want to fight a high-ranked guy. I deserve this. I deserve that. The email came through. I had a tough opponent. I was like, cool, I'll make it work.
And a lot easier than trying to fight Khamzat Chimaev in terms of actually booking the fight. Because I know, because you guys have been going, back and forth. It never ended up happening. He's also got a pretty big fan base. Have you been seeing any of that so far since the fight's been announced? Any people messaging you, rooting against you?
Yeah, I mean, he has definitely a pretty loyal fan base. I mean, I'm getting his flags from his native town posted all over my social media. Like everything that I post is just like these little flags just all over the place. Even if I post about my son, here comes these little flags. So his fan base is definitely super supportive of him. They got his back for sure.
Do you like that? Do you like that there's more eyeballs on the fight, or is it kind of annoying when you're just trying to post a photo of your son and you get all these flags emojis?
Honestly, don't care. I mean, it's all been super respectful for the most part. I mean, no one has been really stepping out of line, saying things too crazy. So the fact that they're supporting their hometown guy, like I can't really get mad at that at all.
Style-wise, how you looking at this one? He's undefeated, 15-0, but he's never fought a Neil Magny before.
That's exactly what it comes down to. I mean, for a guy who be 15-0, 3-0 in UFC, there's definitely something you got to give credit to. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely a different fighter than he has faced in the past. There's something to go out there and prove that at this point.
Anything different for this camp? Same cast of characters, Austin Hubbard, your usual guys over at Elevation Fight Team. Anything different for this camp or same group of guys?
Yeah, I mean, I had planned on leaving and spending some weeks elsewhere for this training camp, but my son had different plans for me, showing up 6 weeks early. So, I'm sticking it around and home for this training camp and just putting to work with the usual guys.
And you touched on it there. Glad to hear. We were talking off air. Your son is healthy. Everything's good, despite the fact him being born a little bit early. How much weight is lifted off your shoulders, going into this fight now, not having to worry about his health issues? Because you were telling me his weight's good now.
Yeah, I mean, initially going into this fight, it was super stressful. I mean, my son's due date was June 21st. So literally, I would have been at the hospital like, hey, nice to meet you, son. I'm off to Vegas to go fight. I'll see you back here on Sunday. So the fact that he came early and he's 100% healthy ended up being a blessing in disguise. And like my wife was able to have him naturally as well. So no C-section or anything crazy like that. So she's doing well. He's doing well. So everything worked out for the best at this point.
I saw you also got to train with Renzo Gracie. I was checking out your Instagram. What was that like?
Man, it was cool. I mean, it was just one of those things that I was just out and about in New York City. It's like, all right, let me keep up my training. Go check out Renzo Gracie's New York City like I always do. And it just so happened that was the day he was stopping in, doing promotions and actually teaching class. So I was fortunate to actually get to meet him finally. I mean, hear all the stories about the kind of person he is, how he carries himself, the effect that he has on people. So be able to experience that firsthand and see just who he was an amazing opportunity for me.
Who else did you get to train with over there as far as bodies in the gym?
So Renzo Gracie in New York City is a lot different than it was a couple of years ago. There are some guys that have been there for years, even when the Down Hurt crew and guys like that were there. But like now that the Down Hurt crew is down in Texas, you see some of the old school guys that are still showing up on the mat, like lack of better names, Black Rob is one of the guys that's constant mad. He's an old school Renzo Gracie black belt. He's a boxing coach up there. So like to see some of the old familiar faces out there was cool. But like as far as like active nogi jiu-jitsu competitors, they don't have as many as they did at one point. But it was
Okay.
cool nonetheless to be out there with that crew.
And no training with Sean Brady this camp because I know obviously he's out east as well. Did you get to work with him?
No, that was literally one of the trips planned for this training camp. Was go out to Philadelphia for a couple weeks and train out there. But then, like I said, unfortunately, but fortunately, my son was born 6 weeks early. So me traveling for training camp for 2 weeks just would not be ideal at this point. So I just have to kind of settle back and stay at home for this camp.
Who have you mainly been working with for your camp at Elevation? Who have been some of the main guys?
So the biggest thing for this training camp is just like me going out there doing the dress rehearsal. I mean, the coaches put a very good game plan together for me going into this training camp. They really pointed out some key areas for me to work on. So for me, it's just more so trying to implement the game plan over and over and over again and make sure I'm proficient at it. So I do have the regular guys in the gym like the Austin Hubbards, the Boyans, and that kind of thing to help me throughout this camp. But for the most part, it's been like really focused on me. My output and the things that I'm choosing to do in training.
And on that same note, who's going to be making the trip with you to Vegas as far as your corner?
So for this fight, it's going to be Christian Allen and Cody Donovan for the corner in this fight. Both guys have come in time and time again before. And this one, we have great chemistry, and I feel like we're running like a well-oiled machine. So I feel very confident going out there with those two guys and getting the job done.
Weight cut going well too? We're just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, it's going great. I mean, weight cuts are always the easy part for me. It's also the most frustrating part for me. And I mean, I hate nothing more than to show up on fight week where it's like my opponent and I are sitting there looking at each other. We're both weighing 183 to 185. And we're like, all right, cool. I'm glad we weighed the same, but let's both cut down to 170. And then we'll both load back up to 185 and fight each other the next day. All right, great. Let's do it. So other than that part being frustrated, weight cut's going great. I'm right on track.
How's this fight playing out on June 25th?
This fight plays out great for me. And like you said, Shavkat's a very skilled opponent. He's been out of the first round very few times. So it's for me to go out there and put on a relentless pace on him, like as I always do, and find a way to break him.
You know, obviously you're fighting a guy that's ranked lower, but this guy's got a lot of hype. He's undefeated. He's 15-0. They're making comparisons to him and Hamzat. Do you feel like a win here because of how popular he is would really propel you up just because of the fact that you're not just fighting a regular ranked guy, you're fighting a guy that's got, a backing here?
For me, it just comes down to me. At this point in camp, this point in my career, to point everything else, it always boils down to me. Even my last fight against Mike Griffin, had I went out there and just smoked it in the first round, I guarantee I'd be fighting a higher ranked opponent going into this fight. So he does have hype behind him. He is undefeated. He does have all these accolades behind him at this moment. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to what version of me shows up and how I go out there and perform.
And I know I haven't looked, I don't think the odds are out yet on your fight, but I imagine you're going to be the underdog just because you're fighting a guy who's undefeated and, pretty popular here. Are you going to tell your buddies to bet on you or whatever? Because I know you don't like getting involved in that, but the odds might be really crazy. You never know.
Yeah, if I'm the underdog, I'm definitely going to tell my buddies to go ahead and bet on me, especially Curtis. I know Curtis had betted me in the past, but last time he's like, yeah, dude, I put a bet on you. I put $100 down. I was like, oh, $100, huh? You were super confident in that one, weren't you? So if I'm the underdog in this fight, I'm expecting Curtis to at least put 10,000 down.
For sure. Did Curtis take you out for dinner? That's the rule. If you win, he should take you out for a nice steak dinner.
No, steak dinners with Curtis is not what you want to do. You end up having a table full of burnt steaks. So it's definitely not what you want to do with Curtis.
Yeah. Fair enough. And just before we go here, I know you train with Kamaru Usman, but what do you think is going to happen with the title? I know he's still on the shelf right now. There's been some talk about maybe doing an interim title between maybe like a Leon or Hamzat, or I know Gilbert Burns is in the mix. You got Bilal Muhammad. What do you think is going to happen with the top of your division right now? I was just curious.
It's just the problem with the division right now. It's just so stagnant. Just keep it moving. I mean, it's unfortunately you have a broken hand. You are the pound for pound champ. You are the champ of the division. No one's taking that away from you. But for the sake of keeping things moving in the rest of the division, I think doing an interim title is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And who do you think will fight for that title? Like, just kind of looking like, obviously we don't have the answers here. That's whoever, the matchmakers, but what do you think? Do you think it's Leon and Hamzat, or do you think they're like, we've tried this like 4 times. It's probably not happening.
If I had to guess, I would definitely go Leon and Hamzat. I mean, that's the fight that makes the most sense. It's the fight I think can do the best numbers at this point as well. So if I had to guess, I would say that would be definitely the fight to make.
Neil, thanks for the time, man. I know you got so much going on, but you made time for me. I always appreciate it. If there's anyone you want to thank, sponsors, social media, you name it, I'll give you the last word.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. As always, yeah, just follow me at Magny _170 on all social media platforms. And can't wait to go out there for the show for you guys on June 25th.